The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And if you'd like to find out what the broadcast schedule is for the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. And the X Zone Radio Show is coming to you around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and iHeartRadio. X Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is Dave Miller. And Dave spent every summer as a child playing in the caves surrounding Greenville, West Virginia, deep in the Appalachian Mountains. This started a series of lifelong coincidences that one day would draw him back to the very place where he started his adventure. This life journey would prepare him somewhat for where he would find one day buried on the side of a mountain that contains the graves of his ancestors. Dave has been a contributor to the Smithsonian Magazine, Ancient Origins Magazine, Paranormal Underground Magazine, and IONS, the Institute of Noetic Sciences. His website, www.thesieboldeffect.com. And Dave, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I've got to tell you something. We've driven through West Virginia many times, and the Appalachian area is just beautiful. It is so beautiful.
Yeah, people don't realize that the Appalachian Mountains are some of the oldest mountains in the world, and the New River, which is ironically called the New River, is the second oldest river in the world. And it has a strong. All this has a strong connection to my property in Western Virginia, and the Appalachian Mountains. And you're right, it's beautiful.
Where did your interest in the supernatural come from, Dave?
Well, probably my first experience, I think, with the supernatural activity was in Greenville, West Virginia, and both sets of my grandparents on my mother's side and my father's side, they lived across the street from each other in the small town of Greenville, West Virginia. And surrounding Greenville was the Saltpeter Cave system. And as a kid, we would play in these caves I'd spend my whole summer up there every year, and we'd play in the caves all day long every day. And it was so I grew up in a quite unusual environment, and I believe the first supernatural activity that happened to me was in those caves, and I do write about it in the book, and it plays a big role in the book. We would go in one entrance of the cave system, and we'd go a mile or two and come out of a completely different entrance. It was like Shangri-La. It was something very surreal. And one time we were investigating what they call the Devil's Writing Table, and that we would go down a circular tunnel, and we would go down there for a long distance, and the tunnel would slowly get smaller and smaller, And at the end, you were actually crawling on your knees down this tunnel. And at the end of the tunnel was a slab of rock that crossed the circular tunnel in half. And that was called the Devil's Writing Table. But through my mind at the time, I felt that was almost a supernatural experience when I saw this place, because all that I could get into my head at the time was the symbol of a circle with a horizontal line. And that stayed with me all my life. And when I started writing the book, that played a big role into my figuring out what was going on that property.
I've got to tell you something, Dave. As a young child, you were a gutsy little devil going into a cave a mile.
I didn't think of it at the time, but I can't believe that I was allowed to do this. And it could get quite dangerous in those caves, too, but we became very much an expert on the caves.
You've got children, right, Dave?
No kids.
When you have children, will you let them go a mile deep into a cave?
Hell no. Not a chance. But those were different times, and it was West Virginia, and there was really no crime. And really all you had was your adventures.
And they were the good old days, weren't they? I can agree with you there. Dave, how did you acquire the property your book is about?
Well, that's and the whole book's it was started in this instance. I was in Papua New Guinea about 16 years ago, and I was on a dive trip actually, and I purchased a property in right near Blacksburg, Virginia, and this is about 16 years ago, and I purchased the property sight unseen. At the time, my girlfriend at the time was going to veterinary school at Virginia Tech, and we were looking for a piece of property, and we had been looking for about a year or so, and I just happened to be on a scuba diving trip in Papua New Guinea, and the real estate agent got in touch with me by satellite phone because I was floating in a boat on the Coral Sea, and so it wasn't a very easy conversation. You know, we had about a 5-second delay, and but he got the information across to me that he had found a piece of property, went on the market that day, and there were already 3 other offers on the property.
Oh, wow.
Well, of course, it was right in my price range that I was looking for. Plus, I figured if 3 other people wanted it so bad, it had to be a decent piece of property. So I said, what the heck? I told the real estate agent I got the message across to him finally on the phone to offer $1,000 over the asking price, and we would just see what happens. What the heck? And by the time I think that was the last night of my trip, and by the time I got back to the United States, I was the owner of the property.
Wow, if that isn't coincidence or synchronicity, well, I don't know what is.
Exactly, and that's what the book's about. The mantra of the book: there are no coincidences. Everything's connected, and everything happens for a reason. And I've connected all these coincidences that happened all my life. I finally put them together to figure out what was going on this property. But after I bought the property and I was the owner of this property, I was answering an insurance question, and I had to pull out the plat of the property. And I pulled out the plat of the property to answer the question and saw my mother's maiden name written down in the bottom corner of the plat of the property, which is Seibold. So obviously, I had to go find a chair to sit down because I didn't know what was going on at this point. But that brings me back to the first time I even walked on top on this property. The property sits in the gap of the mountains. It's a very strategic piece of property. It's in what they call a water gap in the mountains, and it turns out that this was the only passageway east and west through the mountains from anybody going from Virginia to the Ohio Valley, or they would have to cross over this property. So, and so the property has all this energy, and it's energy embedded down into the property, and you could feel it. The first day I walked out on the property, chill bumps would go up and down my spine as I looked over the porch deck, which it's an old mill site, and it overlooks a creek and a dam and 3 mountains, and the mill's no longer there. But the water going over the dam, it sounds like you're at the ocean when you're on the front porch, but you're in the mountains. So I knew it was very special the very first time I went on the property. But after I found my mother's maiden name, that started me going crazy to find out what was really going on in this piece of property.
That is an amazing story. I can't fathom the feeling of pride and all the other emotions that you must have been going through when here you are. You went through all of this, and the property that you bought, without even seeing it, you outbid by $1,000 on the asking price, was actually your ancestral property.
That's correct. Yes, and the feeling I got when I walked on the property before I knew about my mother's maiden name was exactly that. It was. In fact, I was the only one that felt this. My girlfriend at the time, she had told me in advance that it had a nice view, but I had no idea that it was this. I've traveled all over the world.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Exonation, Dave Miller's my special guest this hour. He's the author of Appalachian Supernatural. His website is www.theseiboldeffect.com. And I would imagine the Seibold effect has everything to do with your mother's maiden name.
Correct. But that was only the start. Things didn't even get crazy until later.
Oh, wow. Take us through the craziness.
After I found out about my mother's maiden name,
Yeah.
I started doing research on the property. And, of course, this property is only about 30 to 40 miles away from Greenville, West Virginia, where I grew up. And it's actually attached to the same limestone bedrock that Greenville, the Saltpeter Caves are part of. And as you might already know, limestone has a very spiritual essence to it.
It sure does.
Since limestone is actually the shells of living organisms that were once on the bottom of the ocean. So anyway, after I found out my mother's maiden name,
Whoops, keep on going.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So after I just started doing research on the property, and I found out the first 5 women that graduated from Virginia Tech, 2 of them were related to me, and they graduated in 1925. One of them, Lucy Lee Lancaster, became the librarian at Virginia Tech for the next 52 years.
Holy cow.
And her hobbies was genealogy. And now her papers are archived at the Virginia Tech Library as a Lucy Lee Lancaster collection. And I went through those 40 boxes of papers, and I discovered that the property I just bought was connected to 3 of my first-generation grandfathers from 1738. So obviously, I'm even more overwhelmed now.
Well, of course.
And to find out that these 3 first-generation grandfathers were the founding fathers of the New River German settlement. They were the first Europeans into this area, and they established their New River German settlement and their colony basically right on top of the property I just bought.
Wow.
And that's just the beginning.
There's more?
Yes, there's a lot more. So this property, I also found out this property was connected to George Washington, the French and Indian War, the Draper's Meadow Massacre that happened the day before Braddock's defeat up in near Pittsburgh. That's when General Braddock was ambushed by Indians, and George Washington was there, and a number of other people. And General Braddock was killed in this ambush. But this happened the day after the Draper's Meadow Massacre, which was 20 Shawnee Indians attacked the Draper's Meadow colony, which was located right beside the New River German settlement, and they killed or kidnapped everybody that day. And there's a book written about it called Follow the River.
Holy cow.
About Mary Ingalls being kidnapped, and she escaped and followed the river back to her home. But where my property comes in is they crossed over my property twice that day, and so did the Shawnee Indians. So all this energy and history is being embedded into my property.
Right.
So what we so the history of this place is incredible, and so I studied that for about 10 years, and try to document all the history and stuff like that. And I eventually took the property over for myself. The girlfriend actually was gone, but of course I kept the property, and I took it over for myself and started a remodeling project on the property. And that's when the supernatural activity started up on the property, and I filmed and photographed every bit of it as it happened.
Well, you know the old saying, girlfriends come and go, but property is always there.
Well, this is definitely true in this case.
You know, I had a funny feeling that the girlfriend was no longer in the picture every time you said my girlfriend at the time.
Exactly. And she actually lived in this house for 4 years.
Really?
And never experienced any supernatural activity at all.
Huh.
Because she wasn't the target, I was.
Why, what kind of supernatural activity were you targeted under or by?
Oh, okay. The first experience, I even have a chapter in the book called The Seventh Step. And I started remodeling the stairway in the house, which was old 300-year-old oak stairway, but it had a couple layers of carpeting, 2 or 3 layers of paint. And so I had to hand scrape each step to get it restored. And it was 12 steps altogether. So I started out with step number 1.
So you were actually doing a 12-step program in your own house.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And actually, numerology plays a big part in this book, and the number 7 is very critical in the book too, and that's why I call this the 7th step, because I started with step number 1, and it took me maybe all weekend to do one set of steps. So by the time I got to the 7th step, when I stood on the 7th step, chill bumps started going up and down my spine, exactly how they did when I first walked on the property that first day. And I could step off the step, and they would go away. I could either step down the step or up the step, and they would go away. And I could recreate this feeling anytime I wanted to. So obviously, I'm thinking this place is haunted, without a doubt. And,
it's got my vote.
Go ahead.
I said it's got my vote.
But the thing was, it wasn't scary at all. It wasn't foreboding. It wasn't scary.
Right.
It was exhilarating and exciting. So it didn't really feel like a haunting, but yet something really weird was going on. So I started watching all the ghost shows I possibly could, because I needed to investigate this. I thought it might be the mill manager, maybe hid gold under that 7th step. I didn't know.
Hey.
So I started doing all this research and figured out how to start investigating it. So I did an EVP on the stairway, and right when I was crossing over the 7th step, I got a loud squelch on my EVP recorder, but it was weird because it wasn't a voice. It was more like a squelch. It was more like something was trying to interfere with my equipment to let me know that it was trying to communicate with me. It wasn't talking to me like a. So I was thinking, I didn't know what it was. I just knew it was a communication event is what I felt like it was. So I went out and bought a $80 Panasonic infrared camera, and I started filming the steps at night. And the first time I filmed the steps, I would pass over the 7th step 3 times. It would go black. I'd lose 2 frames. And on the 3rd time I passed over the steps, you could see something morph off. It was like a piece of ectoplasm jumping off the step at the 7th step. And you could only see it if you went back and looked at frame by frame. But once you saw it, you could see it with your real eye. But it would only show up in 3 frames, so that meant it jumped off that step in 1/10 of a second. But it was done to something was trying to tell me something, and I didn't know what it was. But I wasn't scared at all.
Did you ever find out who that was or what that was there with you?
Well, I started filming other places in the house, and every time I would go out and film something, something would happen. It was like they were manifesting itself in the way that I thought it should be. After I saw this piece of ectoplasm jump off the step, I then got recorded orbs flying around, round orbs, and it just so happened to be right after I was watching ghost shows, which everybody has orbs everywhere. So it was like something was trying to communicate with me, but was manifesting themselves in something that I would recognize as something trying to contact me. So it's very strange, and I kept on filming things all over the house in different shapes, sizes, all like no apparitions, no apparitions at all. It was all energy. It was all. So I'm thinking it's. I probably didn't mention this either. The property sits on the sacred hunting grounds of the Cherokee Indians also. And that gave me a lot of the answers when I started studying their folklore and their spirituality. Gave me a lot of answers to the questions I had about the property.
I'm listening to you tell the story, and I would put the property up for sale. Thanks very much. I don't want to stay here.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. It wasn't scary at all. I was just greatly excited. I knew something was trying to contact me. Something was trying to show me something, and it was like they would give me clues. And if I figured out one clue, I would get another.
Well, right now I'm getting a message right now.
From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Demo.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Welcome back to the X-Zone. Dave Miller's our special guest this hour. He's the author of Appalachian Supernatural. His website is theseiboldeffect.com. All right, Dave, when you and I last chatted, we were talking about this entity that you caught on what was it, infrared?
Infrared video, yes.
Yeah.
And EVP.
And EVP. And what else did you catch?
Well, it seemed like every effort that I made to film something, something appeared on the film. Definitely in tune with what I was going through at the time. Definitely my brain was connected to whatever was going on in that house, and I would film things everywhere, but never scary, never fearful, just all complete excitement about the whole thing, and I felt like a detective. I was given these clues, and it was up to me to figure out what was going on. And they were most helpful and extremely friendly. They seemed to be friendly and mischievous. They instead of scary and foreboding, which told me that what I was coming to the conclusion that it had something to do with ancient Indian spirits. That's the only thing that I could rationally wrap my head around. And so I started filming everywhere, and slowly but surely I was filming things, and it was slowly drawing me outside of the house. And I would go out on the front porch, and this is an old porch with an iron railing around the edges. Mm-hmm. And I started doing using my Tesla meter to check the magnetic field. And when I would when I go over to the railing, especially to the center rails, the Tesla meter would shoot up tenfold in velocity. And so, but I was thinking more like this was maybe a man-made type of piezo effect, because these are iron railings bolted into limestone concrete, which was sitting on limestone bedrock. So I'm thinking that this was an avenue for whatever is trying. It was more like an energy coming out from the ground that I felt that this entities fed off of. It gave them energy to manifest themselves and feed off. And remember, there's a strong creek out front, and going up with water going over dams. So I'm creating all this not man-made, but earth energy was being created at this point. And I'll talk about it a lot in my book, where it's multiple energy sources all converge to this piece of property. And I could measure it on devices. I could use divining rods, and they would cross when I passed over the railing. The divining rods would cross. The Tesla meter would go crazy. I could take a compass and make the needle rotate around its axis over the porch. So I knew this was a huge energy system going on right here, but I figured that was just an energy source for whatever is manifesting themselves. So that brought me outside, and I started, and I would film every time there was a weather event of any type, like snow or rain. Mm-hmm. The creek out front, and you were on the front porch, you're overlooking the creek, and you could see the creek would start bubbling up like a witch's cauldron after every weather event. And I came to realize, I think this has had to do with a lot of acid rain on limestone, creating all kinds of chemicals and all these energy systems converging, and that was what was causing it. But it was obviously also a source of energy for what was manifesting themselves on the property.
So tell me, did you ever identify what was manifesting on the property?
Yeah, I believe I did, and that's with the last chapter of the book, and that's titled "The Siebold Effect." I put all these thousands of coincidences together, and I figured out exactly what was going on in that property. But the supernatural activity wasn't the end of the story. It got even more exciting after that, if you can believe it.
All right, now you've got my total attention. What else happened?
Well, after these energy systems brought me outside, mm-hmm. I was still filming stuff. I was filming stuff over the creek at night, in all different types of morphing lights, and I started using full spectrum videos, and I was capturing stuff on that also. Well, so now I'm attuned. Anything that is going on anywhere on this property, I'm tuned into it. So I'm watching everything. And one morning, it was a light snow outside, and I was drinking my coffee, and I was standing on the front porch, and I looked over the railing, and I could see the outline of an old trail going over my property. and I could see it because of the white, little bit of white snow and the dead brown leaves. Mm-hmm. And it was evident. And I knew there were all kinds of Indian trails. And I talk about the Indian. I mapped out a lot of the Indian trails in the book, and I knew that there was an Indian trail nearby, but I thought it was all covered up by roads and everything. So I saw this trail, and I went out to the trail immediately because I knew it immediately was an old Indian trail. And I went over to the end of it where it was cut off by the road and overlooked where the mill used to be. And it was stopped right there, but there was a strange-looking rock there. And I thought that might be a trail marker of some sort, for early surveyors. Even George Washington was an early surveyor in that area. I figured this rock had like hack marks all over it. And so I said, well, this is a cool trail marker of some sort. So I started taking high definition photographs of everything. And then I started studying these photographs for hours and hours and hours. And then one day, I realized what this trail marker was. It was an ancient petroglyph of unknown origin. It had marks on it that were incredible. And studying these markings, I realized over time that the whole side of the mountain where this house sits is covered in rock formations. And now I'm convinced more than ever that every one of these rock formations are ancient carved petroglyphs. And they're the most creative petroglyphs. They're not like cave paintings of stick figures and stuff like that. These are highly creative rock formations, and I've got hundreds of portable artifacts now that are incredible pieces of art. No matter what angle you look at these rocks from, you see a different image. It's almost as if these could not have been humanly made. It's almost like it has a supernatural aspect to it. And I have found a number of extraterrestrial carvings. I know this is crazy. That's why I had to self-publish my book, by the way, because nobody believed my story. And I figured if I had to convince people what was going on, I had to write the book, which has about 300 photographs in it. And I have an Instagram account, The Seibold Effect, at The Seibold Effect, that I've posted now about 150 of these photographs, high-quality photographs that will actually blow your mind.
Let me ask you something before you go on.
Okay.
Have you brought any experts in to authenticate the findings that you've done?
I've had the state archaeologist out there.
What did he say?
But his comment was he had never, ever in his entire life seen anything like it. And that's the trouble with the scientific community, and that's what also convinced me to write the book, was that the archaeologists have never seen – this is something nobody's ever seen before, and they're taught that this stuff does not exist. So – his only comments were that he's never ever seen anything like it, but he was more interested in the paranormal end of the story than the archaeological side of it. But these rocks are so strange that if you're looking at them, you can see that they're strange, but you really don't notice what they are until you study the photographs. Because if you capture them at a certain angle and make these three-dimensional objects two-dimensional, you see exactly what's going on.
Wow.
But that's the reaction I got when I tell people, the scientific community, about it. They look at me like I'm absolutely crazy. And I contacted National Geographic,
right.
Smithsonian Institute, and they were all interested, but what could they do? So I knew at that time I had to document everything and put it in a book and figure out what was going on here.
What is your profession?
I was a national accounts manager for 25 years, and I quit that job to write the book.
Wow, good for you.
Because the story is so incredible, it needs to be.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. free video on demand, live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
I'm William S. Peckham. If you enjoy a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love my novel, From Out of the Woodwork. It's the story of a young Toronto contractor, Sean Kennedy, who buys derelict homes, guts them, and turns them into multifamily dwellings. Slums just waiting to happen. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, the house fights back. Former owners unexpectedly come out of the woodwork as he starts the destruction. The apparitions come to him when he touches old books, reads hidden letters, rummages through old boxes, finds a locket, or reads a discovered manuscript of a murder mystery. From Out of the Woodwork will take you from 1899 to the horror of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Check out From Out of the Woodwork on my website, www.williamspeckham.com.
Magic. If the music is groovy and makes you feel happy like an old-time movie, I'll tell you about the magic and to free your soul. But it's like trying to tell a stranger about a rock and roll. You believe in magic.
Exonation Dave Miller is my special guest. He's the author of Appalachian Supernatural. His website is www.thesybaldeffect.com. And first of all, Dave, thank you so much for coming on the show. A very interesting story that you are telling us and sharing with us, and I thank you for that. Do you have any animals, Dave?
Not now, but actually the story involves animals greatly. It as sensational as the story is, with supernatural activity documented on film. What they think that I've discovered ancient, I didn't mention that before, but I've written a couple articles now for Ancient Origins magazine, which they think that I have discovered an ancient civilization on my property. And as sensational as all this is, it's the backstory on what I think happened on this property that is a sensational story, even more so than the petroglyphs and the supernatural activity.
All right, what do you think happened there?
As I said before, this property sits on that sacred hunting grounds of the Cherokee Indians, and in studying their spirituality, I have come to the conclusion that that this involves much more than the supernatural activity and the petroglyphs. This involves a great argument for the existence of an afterlife, because I'm convinced now that ancient Indian spirits and my ancestral spirits colluded with each other and conspired with each other to mark me as a child and bring me to this piece of property to find this ancient civilization. And we're talking about an ancient temple area on the property, and I've documented this, and I've got specific stone alignments that all come to play in here. So it's my contention that these ancient spirits brought me to this piece of property to find this whatever I found, and I'm convinced that this is exactly what happened. And I document and I make a very strong argument in the book with nothing but facts, and it's very scientifically approached on why I was brought there and what I was supposed to find when I got there. And it's a very uplifting story, but it's a very spiritual story, not religious, but very spiritual. And I'm convinced that this is the case because how else you have to believe two things, or one of two things. You have to believe, one, that everything that I write about in the book, me getting the property and finding the civilization or whatever it is, was all coincidental. It's all random. It all happened. But if it...
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.